Let us Memento Mori. Regina Lux here with Veritas on the Rocks. Today I am using a new glass that one of my dear friends sent me. I thought it was very appropriate for today's topic. Today we are going to be speaking about a very important topic that affects everybody: death. Memento Mori is a Latin phrase that means remember you will die. Many Catholics, myself included, have a devotion to it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're goth or dark, despite the fact that I'm kind of both. It simply means that we make a point of facing our mortality every day. So why? Why make a point of reminding yourself daily that one day your life will end? Is it to keep yourself downcast? To tell yourself you ought not be happy with anything because one day you won't have it at all? It's actually the opposite. Gratefulness is the route to happiness. And remembering that you will one day lose all that you have, you're forced to value what you have now. When you value what you have, you are happier. Epiphany. Remembering your death is the greatest motivator for remembering to live. Memento Mori isn't to make a mockery out of death. It is to make light of it. Because when you make light of something you're afraid of, you can truly face it. It no longer has a big scary hold of you, and it no longer controls you. Staring something in the face, embracing it for what it is, means that you nor it can no longer hide from the reality. You finally face your fear, and you size it up, and you see how much it truly controls you. Facing your fear is when you learn what you're truly made out of. It's when you figure out whether or not you're tough enough. Yet at the same time, while Memento Mori makes light of death, it also makes it a heavy reflection. You see, most people aren't actually afraid of death. That might come as a surprise. What most people are actually afraid of is not leaving behind a legacy. Some people are afraid to die because they want to be remembered for the remainder of their loved ones' lives. Other people are afraid to die because they're worried they won't leave behind a great enough legacy where people will remember them for ages to come. Here's the fact of the matter. Most people, even great innovators, are not remembered for all the rest of time. You can probably only name a couple people from the Middle Ages, and believe it or not, there were more than a couple people alive then. Yet everyone then, in their own way, helped shape the world into what it is now with their small daily tasks and the ripple effect. Now let's think of someone more recent. Meatloaf was a great musician. When was the last time you listened to one of his songs? Do you think he'll be remembered by the masses in 100 years? So it's time that you confront the reality that no, it is not likely you will be remembered on a grand scale for the rest of the time, and that's okay. You don't need to be in order to live a fulfilling life. You don't need to be remembered daily in order to have affected other people positively. You don't need a lot of people to think about you when you're gone in order to leave a legacy. Understand that the ripple effect does exist, and seek to do as much good as possible during your time here in order to create a better world for people to live in later. And you will find consolation in that. Telling yourself, I am working to leave the world a better place for when I die, will fill your daily actions with such meaning, and then you won't be afraid of death when he comes, because you won't have regrets. People think that not striking things off your bucket list ought to be the cause of life's regrets, but it ought not be. The cause of life's regrets shouldn't be that you didn't do things that you wanted to do or reach enough people to change them. No, the cause of life's regrets shouldn't be the unlived life. It should be that you didn't live your life in a way that magnifies the goodness which you have to offer other individuals, society, and the world. Whether or not someone remembers you isn't what should drive you. Rather, it should be the self-assurance that you used your time wisely. Children who die early in their lives are generally remembered for a long time by those who loved them. They affect those they leave behind so greatly. Do you know why? They're remembered for the beautiful life lessons they taught others in their simplicity. And those lessons are the ones that affect people until they die. They might not be remembered by a ton of people, but they've inspired those whom they leave behind who love them. And with their mere short life's example, they inspire other people to be better. Adults who die are more than capable of leaving behind the same impact. Honestly, that is the impact people ought to want to leave behind, teaching others courage and love with the example of their lives. It's wonderful and great to be an innovator. It's amazing to be a great leader who inspires other people. But the motivation for doing so shouldn't be to leave a legacy. It should be to shape the world into something greater. They can write books, create product, motivate others, but at the end of the day, did they make the world better for other people? Or did they alienate people and work for causes that harmed others, just to line their pockets while they lived on this plane? The goal of one's life shouldn't be to get as much love and admiration as possible. Author Mark Mason has a great quote about this, because there's a sneaky little truth about life. You can't be an important and life-changing presence for some without being a joke and an embarrassment to others. The bigger the leader, the more the criticism. The more you seek to change the world for the better, the more people will hate you, simply because more people know who you are. That's something a lot of people don't realize when they seek to leave a legacy to bring them comfort when they die. Our natural inclination is the desire to be loved. We naturally want affirmation for every single little thing we do, and sometimes we'll beat ourselves up if we don't get it, because subconsciously, we know that that's part of leaving behind our legacy. Every single thing that we do builds into our legacy and has the ripple effect which we leave behind. Which is the reason why even the smallest things we do matter on a much grander scale than people might even realize. And that is why it is important to remember daily that one day we will die. You shouldn't hate or fear normal physical things. In truth, it's the abnormal things that ought to give you pause. The veritas is that we're all going to die. That's just how it is. So if you're afraid, what is it that you're actually afraid of? Is it irrational, such as fearing the unlived life? Or is it rational, such as fear as never showing others how much they truly matter, so as to positively affect them in their daily lives? You can't take unlived life experiences with you when you're dead. You won't care about riding that roller coaster for one last time when you're lying in a coffin. None of that will matter then, and it won't matter 100 years from now. Memento Mori requires you to examine who you are and what kind of legacy you wish to leave behind, while also humbly acknowledging that you will likely not be remembered by people generations to come. And that's okay. Facing that fact, believe it or not, will be what makes you truly happy. It will be what makes you unafraid to face your own mortality. Now we can take this the direction of you don't matter, like some sad goths, but you do matter. That's kind of the point. Your death matters. And I hope you have a happy death. It's honestly what most people desire in life, even though they don't realize it. People not devoted to Memento Mori will sometimes take it to mean that no matter what we do with our lives, it's pointless because we're all going to die in the end. But it's actually the opposite. Memento Mori reminds us to fill our lives with doing as much good as possible so that we can leave behind a society that's better off because we lived in it. Remembering your death is what reminds us to live. Or as the kids might say these days, YOLO. YOLO is really the millennials' Memento Mori if you think about it. So are you afraid to daily remember your death? Why? Find joy in Memento Mori, and then you will truly be free to live.